option box down at the bottom that says chat, you'll see that you'll be able to write your or type your questions or comments into the little box that shows up. It will be visible to everyone, just so you know. But we are at the point, it's 10:30, and I think we can get started right on time. So again, welcome everyone. Welcome to our third and final session of How'd They Do That? We're going to be talking about Zoom today with Caitlin Lewis. So Caitlin, again, we're really glad you're here. And I would like to just take a moment to ask the staff who's on today to just, excuse me, say hello and introduce themselves. So Shannon, I know you're there.
Good morning, I'm Shannon Mason Young. I'm the Northwest Region Community Coordinator.
Great. Anna, I know you're there somewhere.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm the Northeast Regional Literacy Consultant.
And Beth?
Hi, I'm Beth Gaitan. I'm the Southwest South Central Regional Literacy Consultant, and my little guy's right there in the background doing school. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And finally, Cassie, are you there?
Hi, sure. I'm Cassie McLean. I'm the North Central Community Coordinator.
Great. And Cassie will be monitoring that chat box for us today. So hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions or your comments in a timely manner. I also want to remind you that we are recording today's session. So if you want to share it with staff or volunteers, we definitely encourage you to do that. It will also be out on our website within the next day or so, so you can watch for it there. Beth is going to be sending out a kind of a recap of everything we're talking about today, so you'll be able to see it in black and white. Again, that's something you can share with your volunteers or staff. And at the very end today, right after the session is over, you'll be receiving an evaluation. And we really love for you to have that evaluation completed and sent back to us, because it really tells us not only how we've done, but it also tells us things that you might be looking for in future sessions. So please watch for the evaluation, and it'll take you a minute, maybe two, to complete it. So if you would, we'd appreciate it. I also want to tell you that coming up the week of February 1st, we will be holding our second virtual winter conference. And we just spent an hour talking about it amongst our staff members. It is probably one of the richest in terms of content programs that we have ever offered. I think you're going to be very pleased when you see the lineup that we're working on. There's some prizes or some surprises and some fun stuff, as well as just some really, really worthwhile sessions. So save that first week of February for the virtual conference. There'll be sessions offered every day, Monday through Friday. And they'll be at various times, so hopefully you can make it fit your schedule. We'll do our best to record everything, so if you can't do one, you can access it later on. So with all of that said, I'm going to just turn it over to Caitlin and let her tell us about Zoom.
And excuse me, Caitlin, Barbara has already put something in the chat. She says, I work in the prison system and have limited tech. People in our care do not have internet. Let's see, she also says they have tablets, but Department of Corrections controls what goes on it. So I think just something to kind of keep in mind as the program's going on.
Sure. Well, something we can address right away with Zoom, if they do have a tablet, if they don't have Wi-Fi, they could use cell service if it connects to cell service, and they could download the Zoom app for it. So it'd work on it without Wi-Fi. They can do it off cell service. If they do not have cell service, I am not aware of any way for Zoom to work without internet or without phone data. So this may not be, Zoom may not be the best option then to be able to use within the correctional facility unless they had access to computers or maybe something else that did connect some way to the internet, either through cell phone data, tablet data, or through Wi-Fi. There is a really good pro-literacy webinar I attended back this summer, I believe, that was called Beyond Zoom, that did look at options where you could, what things you could do with your students if they didn't have access to Zoom or to the internet, or they didn't have cell data. And we do have some students of ours who do not have internet at home, and teachers have been actually making them packets for them to work on and then discussing those over the phone. And always, I'm going to post a link to the Google Docs presentation I've made today that you can view at your convenience in the future if you want to go back and review any of the information on how to do what we are going to do today. And let's get started. So again, big thank you for everyone who is here. Welcome back if you've come before, and thank you for joining us, and welcome if this is your first time. What we're doing today is not connected to the two previous presentations I gave, so don't feel like you've missed anything if you haven't come to any before. This is its own independent entity. My name is Caitlin Lewis. I am a citizenship instructor here at Neighborhood House of Milwaukee, their international learning program. So on today's agenda, as we said, we're going to first look at the Zoom transition strategies we used for our English language learners, our students. We're going to look at how to set up recurring meetings, breakout rooms, how to share your screen, and a few other noteworthy features that I use in my classroom. And some more information about our larger organization, International Learning Program. We're located at 25th and Wisconsin. We offer free English and citizenship classes for asylees and refugees. We are also a DOJ accredited site, meaning we can apply for citizenship for our students when they are eligible. First thing I want to review are the differences between a Zoom Basic and a Zoom licensed account. So a Zoom Basic is the free account, and the Zoom licensed is a licensed account. So you will see that the three main differences are, on a Zoom licensed account, you have unlimited time in the meetings. On a free account, you have unlimited time if you're just meeting with one other person. If it's just a one-on-one meeting, you have, I believe it's a 24-hour time limit, but the moment you have a third person join that meeting, you are then going to be set to a 45-minute time limit. The first two times they let you extend it, but after those two free extensions, then they shut it down and you're really only set to those 45 minutes. A second thing that's different in the licensed account is you can add a poll. If you've ever been in a Zoom meeting and a question's popped up where you could choose a multiple choice answer and then they'll show you all the answers, that poll is only available through a paid account. And the third option is cloud recording. For example, we are recording this webinar right now, and if you wanted to record it and save it to Zoom's servers, to the Zoom website, that would be the cloud recording option. It would allow you to view that recording anywhere, so it wouldn't just record to a certain computer and only be on that computer. To be honest, these last two features of the paid account, we don't really use that much. It was the unlimited time for the meetings that is what sold us on upgrading to a paid account. So it's just something to take into consideration, that if that 45-minute time limit is not an issue for you and you can do everything you need to do, all the features except for the poll at the end I'm going to show you today are all available within the free account.
And I'm going to just jump in, Caitlin. If anybody out there who is a member wants a Zoom license, most of the regional consultants and RCCs can assist with that. We've got a little bit of money to help pay for that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that unlimited time is very helpful, and poll and cloud recording are helpful as well. Okay, so some Zoom transition strategies for English language learners. Well, first I have to give a big shout out to our bilingual support specialist, Miss T. Pa. She took on the Herculean challenge of individually calling students and explaining to them over the phone how to download Zoom and how to open up a meeting when we decided to pilot and test drive having our classes transition to Zoom. Then when it came to fall, when we're here during fall and we decided, okay, we don't want to have T call every single one of our students in order to get them on Zoom. We actually had on-site, outdoor when possible, or teachers would call family members. One of the most effective ways was actually that on-site outdoor demonstration. So I'm just going to show you really quick, if I can get my mouse to work. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Sorry, my mouse seems to be stuck in. Draw, so I'm just experiencing a few technical difficulties. I have to give my computer a moment to catch up with me, so I'll keep talking while I'm waiting. So we actually had on-site outdoor demonstrations where students would come in small groups and we'd meet with them and show them how to download the Zoom app on their phone. And also we would give them picture-based instructions to take home. And these picture-based instructions you can see in the bottom right-hand corner would show the pictures of the Zoom link that they would need to click on and what to do and what part of the text they would need to click on when they would get a text message from their teacher. And the last big thing was recurring meetings. So the ID number does not change. That really helped our students to be able to quickly join in on the meetings. Okay. Ooh. Just to check, because my computer seems to be freezing up a little bit, can everyone hear me?
Yes, occasionally you'll get a little bit of a buzz, but by and large, we hear and see you just fine.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure my computer hadn't frozen on me. Okay, it looks like now.
Now I think you are frozen. Uh-oh, I think we've lost her. Let's give it a second for her to try to get back on.
That was causing issues with students opening up old meeting links. Oops. There you go.
Okay, yeah, we lost you there for a minute.
Okay, there you go. Well, my computer is now working, so that's good. So let me open up. Are you able to see the Facebook video?
Yes.
Great. So this is what it looked like when we had an on-site demonstration with one of our elders. I don't know if you can hear the sound with it, but we'd actually have the elder come on site and with masks, temperature checks, we would show them how to use Zoom with the technology device that they brought with them. So now we'll go back to the presentation and we're going to look at how to set up that recurring meeting. So when you sign into Zoom, there's going to be an option on your top right-hand corner that says My Account. There we go. So there is My Account. When you click that, on the left-hand side, you're going to see a column under Personal that will say Meetings. This is what you would typically be doing when you are scheduling a meeting. So Meetings. And then if you have not already scheduled a meeting, you would go to schedule a meeting. But let's say if you already have a meeting set up that you want to make recurring, so it'd be happening every single week, you can go in and edit that meeting to make it recurring. So go to edit, and then edit all occurrences. And then this is where you'd get the same sort of meeting template. If you scheduled a meeting or you're editing a meeting, this is what it's going to look like. You'll name it, your description, when does it happen, the duration. The duration actually doesn't matter. I set all the classes I make to 2 hours, so it blocks off that 2-hour time on my schedule. But with an unlimited Zoom meeting time, you can have it for as long or as little as you'd like. And then you'll want to make sure this recurring meeting option is checked. So this will make it recurring, so it has the same meeting number from week to week. You can say what type of recurrence would you like, repeat every how many weeks, and then actually you can set it up for a set number of days. So citizenship in our program only happens once a week, but for our English classes that happen 4 times a week, you could set it up for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. All of those meetings would have the exact same meeting ID. So students would not have to be using a different meeting ID or a different link, a different number for each day. They would have the same meeting ID for every day and for as many weeks as you would like that to happen. So then you would say, when do you want this recurring meeting to end? And you can actually keep extending the end date. For example, I had the citizenship class that I teach ending in January, but I've decided everything's going so smoothly with students coming into our Zoom class. I did not want to change the link. I did not want to change the meeting ID. So I went in to edit the meeting and I edited the end date to set it to May. So that meeting ID is now extended for the next 6 months and I will not have to lose it. You can also set it to a set number of occurrences, but I find it's a little bit more helpful to set it to a specific day because you can start the meeting anytime you'd like. For example, when I'm teaching students how to use Zoom, I can open up the citizenship meeting on any day of the week. It doesn't have to be at the set time, and I can open it up for them and they can practice joining the citizenship class. So then when it comes to class time, they have the meeting link, they know what they're doing, and they can join right away. Then you'll see under that, there's a passcode and a waiting room option. You now have to pick at least one before you could turn them both off. And that was what was easiest for us. But now you have to pick one. So we pick keeping the waiting room on because that just makes it more difficult on our end, but it makes it easier on the students' end. So we turn off the passcode because even though Zoom says the passcode is included in that link you text out, students were still encountering difficulty when they clicked the link, it asked for a passcode, and they were getting confused by that step. So we just turned off the passcode, made it as easy as possible for them to join the class. And then you can customize any of your other meeting settings as you would like. For example, this top one says allow participants to join anytime. So that would allow a participant to join before the host joins. I keep that one off because sometimes students join at random hours of the day. So I don't want them just sitting there with a blank Zoom screen, if they got confused on the day of the class or the time of the class, thinking that class would be happening. So I do not allow people to join before I join. And then after you do that, you'll make sure you want to hit save down at the bottom, the blue save. And you'll get the option to add the meeting directly to your calendar. So I would add it to the Google Calendar. And when you do that, it will add the meetings for all the recurrences you set it for. So for example, right now I have a meeting on every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 10:30 through the end of May. So you don't have to go in and individually add each class. It will automatically set up every single one of those recurring meetings as you set it. So then when you click, let's say I'm adding it to my Google Calendar, I would click allow. So I'd allow Zoom access to my calendar. And then in the calendar invite or on the calendar, the space it blocks off, it has all of the Zoom meeting links, the Zoom meeting number, the passcode if you have one. You can invite guests by adding their emails here, and then you can save the meeting. A few extra tips would be if your calendar is connected to your phone, you can easily copy and paste the link in a text, and this will open up the Zoom app on their phone. So for example, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment so you can see this more clearly. On my phone, so if I were to go to my calendar, here's my calendar. If I click Tuesday, December 15th, you would see the citizenship class at 8:30. I would click with my finger on that class, then you would hit edit, and then I can scroll down to the information at the bottom where it says, Caitlin Lewis has invited you to join a Zoom meeting. And you would copy, I would copy the link and the meeting ID. So you'd highlight it, drag your finger over it, copy. And then I can actually go straight to my text messages, open up a text message, click on the text box, paste, and then I could send that. That's how I text students directly the meeting link. A lot of our students do not have email addresses. Right now, we're moving towards wanting to set up emails for them, but at this moment, they do not have, a lot of them do not have email. So that's an easy way to just send it via text. If your Google Calendar you save the meeting on is linked to your phone calendar. Okay, now we're gonna look at utilizing breakout rooms. This is a picture of a breakout room where we were training our service learners on different activities.
Excuse me, Caitlin, just a quick question. Do you text students from your personal phone?
I do text students from my personal phone. With COVID, I've kind of opened up that communication door. I have heard of, I believe there's a app through Google where you can set up a Google number in which that you could text them and your own personal number would not show. I'm not sure how it works, but I do use my personal phone when it comes to texting students.
It's actually really easy. So the RLCs, we have Google numbers on our personal phones, and it's very, very easy to set up with the Gmail account, and then it's very easy to do phone calls and texting with folks. So definitely recommend that. Yeah,
and then that way too, you would avoid if you did not want students to have your direct personal number, or you could also copy it from that calendar invite. And if you have a Facebook page and you're connected with your participants on Facebook, you could send that, you could copy and paste that in a Facebook message. You could copy and paste that in WhatsApp if you were connected to students on WhatsApp or other messenger services. So there's a few different ways where you could use other things besides your phone number if you did not want to share your phone number with your participants. So moving to breakout rooms. Again, you're going to have to sign into your Zoom. The very first thing is you're going to want to make sure that your breakout room feature is turned on. I believe it's automatically turned off. That is what happened for us. So I had to go in and turn that feature on. We all had to do that. So you'd sign into your Zoom and you'd go to the My Account option again in your right-hand corner. And then under Personal, you'd go to Settings, and it's going to be under In Meeting Advanced. So you could even click that link and it'll take you down to it, or you can scroll through all the different settings. It might be worthwhile when you're first setting up Zoom to look through the settings and see the different options. Right now, we're just focusing on the major ones we use here, but there's lots of different personalization touches you can use within your Zoom account. So in Meeting Advanced, you would see Breakout Room, and then you'd want to make sure it's turned on. And when it's turned on, it would look blue like that with the button sort of slid to the right side. And then when your breakout room feature is on your little toolbar that would show up at the bottom, or sometimes for some people it shows up at the top of their screen, you will now see a breakout room option. And this will only be for the host. So for the host, you will have a breakout room option, and you would click on that. You would choose how many rooms you'd like. So you can see assign 3 participants into 2 rooms. So we'll tell you how many participants would go in each room, and you can adjust the rooms as needed. For example, I have 2 volunteers in the 8:30 citizenship class that I teach. So I typically create 3 breakout rooms in the beginning when we're doing our warm-up exercises. And then I just let Zoom automatically assign people and then create breakout rooms. Even if you choose the automatic option, before you open up the rooms, you can adjust the groups as needed. So if you don't want to have to manually assign everybody, you just want to do automatic, you'll still be able to fine tune it before you open up those breakout rooms, and you can move people around while you're in breakout rooms. For example, sometimes Zoom will put both of my volunteers in the same breakout room. So you would click on the person, you'd click on the person you'd want to move, and you'll see we'll have an option, move to or exchange. And you'll want to move, if you want to move this person, you could move them to breakout room 2, or if you had other rooms open. As the host, you can't assign yourself to a room. You are able to move from breakout room to breakout room. So when you've fine-tuned your rooms and assigned the people you want in each room, you click Open All Rooms. Or if you do want to manually assign groups, or sometimes I'll just have a volunteer working with one student in a breakout room, and I'll have all the rest of the students in the main session. You would say you want to manually create these rooms. And then you would say how many rooms you want. So you'd click the room, then you'll see it's called rename, delete, or assign. So you would click on assign, and then on the right hand, right next to assign, you'll see all the names of your participants pop up, and you can click which ones you want into that room. You can repeat that process with a different breakout room if you want to maybe just have one volunteer tutors working one-on-one. Just a heads up as well, Zoom does have limited functionality on Google Chromebooks. So if you're using a Google Chromebook, this was a feature we had some trouble with, and so we chose to kind of use laptops or desktops that were not on a Chromebook, because it doesn't have as many features on a Chromebook. They've really simplified the app for it, which is unfortunate, and I hope they in the future will make it so it works completely the same as it would with a normal laptop. But I just want to let you know, if you are using a Chromebook, you may encounter some problems.
Caitlin, can you still use breakout rooms or not at all with a Chromebook?
You can. What we had a problem with is that we had breakout rooms are available in a Chromebook. The things that we encountered problems with were when you shared your screen, which I will be talking about next. You didn't have the whiteboard feature, which we were able to overcome by just opening up a blank Microsoft Word page and using that as a whiteboard. And the second thing was, if you can see to the right where it says student 1, student 2, student 3, our citizenship classes have about 25 students in it. So you would have to scroll through the lists of students in order to assign them to a breakout room. And on that Chromebook, it would only show you maybe 5 of the 25 participants. So if you wanted to manually assign people to a breakout room, it would only let you see and manually assign 5 of those. It wouldn't let you scroll through all 25 of those. It worked in the beginning, and it would let us scroll through, and then it stopped working, and we couldn't figure out how to get it to work. So we switched, the teacher who was using the Chromebook switched to using a laptop instead, and it was able to work.
Do you think that it would work if the students have Chromebooks? Is it more of an issue if the host has a Chromebook?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Beth. It's really only an issue for the host. A lot of our students use Chromebooks. We actually were able to secure funding to give to lend out Chromebooks to the elders who did not have technology to use them, to use Zoom at home, and it works completely fine for them. So it's more from a host standpoint and not a user standpoint. Users will have the Zoom works totally fine on a Chromebook. It's more these small intricate features for a host that can be a little bit frustrating when you're trying to use it on a Chromebook. Okay, so then you manually assign, choose the students you'd want, and then you'd go to, again, go to open all rooms. So as the host, you can join any breakout room you want. It's going to be along the top where you see the breakout room number 1, you'd click join. And so then you'd be in the breakout room with students. If you notice on the bottom, this green share screen option, you are able to share your screen, create a whiteboard, and anyone can do that in breakout rooms. For example, the 2 volunteers that I have, they are not listed as co-hosts on my meetings. And when I put them in a breakout room with a student, they can click on share screen and share their screen just like I can, even though they're not a host. So you still have this share screen feature, which we'll talk about next in your breakout rooms. And then when you want to leave the room, yes, Cassie?
Oh, if you're using Zoom and you want to display a lesson on the smartboard, what are the options?
Okay, yes, that's what we'll look at next. We're just finishing up breakout rooms, and then we'll look at how to actually display the lesson, similar to what I'm doing right now with displaying the slides. And so then you'd go to leave room, and then you have to actually click it twice. You click leave room, the blue button, and then there's a leave breakout room. And you go back to the main session. And you can do that as many times as you'd like. I'll go back, when we finish the small group activity, I'll go back and forth between the breakout rooms to check in on the volunteers. And when we're all finished, I'll go to the breakout rooms options. And then at the bottom, you'll see all the breakout rooms and who's in what room again. You'll click close all rooms. Participants will be brought back to the main meeting in 60 seconds, and they'll see this message. So breakout rooms will close in 55 seconds. So they'll have the option to leave now. If they don't click that button, they'll automatically be sent back to the main meeting within the minute. You can customize that time frame as you'd like. If you want the breakout rooms to only close after 10 seconds, you can change it. Or if you want to give people 2 minutes to work their way back, these are all customizable features you can do within the Zoom meeting option. I find 1 minute works just enough to give volunteers a heads up. Hey, we're going to be joining back to the main group. Let them finish what they're doing without it being too much time for those that hit leave now. You're not stuck looking at each other for 2 minutes. Now we're going to look at the sharing your screen option. So when you share your screen, there's many things you can do, right? In this picture, you see I was sharing, I'd taken a photo of the book that we're working from and then uploaded it and then had it open on my computer. And then I shared that screen with them so we could review the homework answers together. So we're going to look more into detail of how that works. So to share your screen when you're in the midst of Zoom, it's going to be on your toolbar, which for most people is going to be in the bottom option. It's going to be a green share screen options. Sometimes toolbars are at the top. I don't know why for some people they're at the bottom and why sometimes it's at the top. You'll see as we go into share your screen, the toolbar actually moves around while you're sharing your screen. So it may be in different places, but you're always going to look for that toolbar and that green share screen feature. Then when you click it, you can see that there are a few different options. The first one you'll see is desktop. Just a warning, if you share your desktop, it will share everything. So if you are a Mac user and you get notifications about when people text you, if you have an iPhone, all of those notifications will pop up. If you get email notifications or anything else, that will all show up when you're using desktop. If you don't want that to happen, then you could just click on the program itself if you want to share. For example, Google Chrome will only share my web browser, will not share any other background noise on the computer. Or a whiteboard is a blank screen similar to our whiteboards in our classrooms where you can draw and write as you would like. There are other things you can do, such as iPhone, iPad, AirPlay. You can open up other applications. You see I've got a calendar open here where I was showing students, this week was the last week in class and when we were going to start class again. So you can open as many applications as you'd like. You just have to make sure the program is not minimized. So it has to be at least open. It doesn't have to be full screen, but you need the program to be open in the background of Zoom in order to share it. If you have it minimized and it's closed down in the bottom part of your laptop or your computer, you won't be able to share that screen. So you have to make sure the program is open in the background. So we're going to look at Whiteboard first. So you'd click Whiteboard. Then you notice the toolbar moves to the top. And on this toolbar, there's a whiteboard option within the whiteboard, and that is the drawing option. And this is when you click this, you'll get a little sub menu with text, draw, stamp, spotlight, erase. And that will be seen on your end that you can draw and write or spotlight as you'd like, but it's not seen on the user's end. For example, I don't believe anybody can see mine right now, but I have this sub toolbar open so I can draw. And right now I'm actually using the spotlight feature. So it creates this little laser pointer that you can see, that students can see on the screen, and they can see what I'm looking at or what I'm pointing to. And it also gives you control over the mouse at the same time. So that's a nice feature to that. When you're writing or when you're drawing, you don't necessarily have control over the mouse. So you have to either go to spotlight or select to get back into your mouse functions. So for text, if you wanted to write, you would select the T, text. And if you want to change the color, the size, you would go to format. Format's going to have a colored square on top of the word, and that's the color that your text will show up. You can also choose the size. I would recommend using one of the larger sizes, such as 48 or 72, because that will be easier for your students to read who are on their cell phones, and also it's not going to show up as small. 48's kind of been a nice sweet spot I found that's large enough for students who are using their cell phones, but it's not as large as 72 where it would take up the whole screen. And draw, you can write with a pen, such as I can draw this little smiley face, or sometimes I'll type out a sentence and we'll make edits to the sentence together as a class. So that would be the drawing feature. You can also, when you're in draw, you can go to format and change the color of what you are drawing in. You do not have to always be drawing in red. So for example, right now I've got red, but if I were to click format on my sub toolbar, I can now draw in blue. Or I go back to format, I can now draw in black. So that format button right here changes the colors and your line width when you're drawing, or it changes the colors and the text size when you're writing. Then Spotlight, which I was just using, creates this red laser pointer that allows you to control the mouse, which is more important, I found, for things that I'm doing like right now, where I'm going through slides and I want to be able to click slides as needed. And then also your eraser and your clear. So an eraser will allow you to erase individual drawings or text that you have written, and will allow you to keep other drawings. So it won't erase everything. It's just a small little eraser that you can spot delete as you'd like. Just so you know, while you are drawing, You need to clear your drawings when you go from page to page, otherwise they will continue to show up. For example, if you see this blue smiley face I just drew, if I click to the next page, it's still there. So then if I wanted to just clear my whole screen, if I had a lot of drawings or a lot of text, I would go to the clear button, and then you can clear all of my drawings and just clear everything off the screen and go to the next page. Now we're going to look at, so if you want to share an application such as a program you want the students to look at, a photo, maybe if you have a PowerPoint or Google Slides, you'd go back to the share screen option, and then you would select the screen you'd like to share. So I wanted to share this PowerPoint I'd put together for one of my citizenship classes, and then you'd hit the blue share button. Oh, and this is also where it says share computer sound. So I think had I had that clicked when I went to Facebook, you would have been able to hear that audio. That shares all of the computer audio. So now this is what it looks like. This is a screenshot from one of the citizenship classes I was teaching that I had a Google Slides up. I'd pre-made these words and blank spaces to practice some writing. And then I actually used the drawing feature to write along with the students to help show them what I wanted them to do by going up to my toolbar, which again is up at the top when I'm in the share screen function. And then it may be in the bottom. Again, this is something you'll just have to look. It's typically the toolbar when you're sharing your screen. You'll find it by the green "You are screen sharing" button. Sometimes, like right now, my toolbar is not showing, but I can see at the top of my screen the green "You are screen sharing," which is always, that green message is always there on your screen while you're sharing your screen. And I'd go up and just hover my mouse over it, and my toolbar drops down. So it would drop down and you'd be able to see it. I could click annotate. So here it's called annotate, but it's still that same pen icon. And I would get the same sub menu with draw, text, spotlight, erase, and anything I needed to do there. So now we're going to look at some notable features. The first being gallery view. So this is kind of where you get everybody looking like the Brady Bunch together. I think Marsha the first time had that cute meme that said, how did the Brady Bunch have access to Zoom way back when? So this is what it would look like while you're in gallery view. You can only be in gallery view when someone is not sharing their screen. So if you are sharing your screen, then you would not have the option to be in gallery view. It's only when you're all talking and nobody's sharing their screen. So you'd go up to the right-hand corner of your Zoom meeting where there would be a view option. And this one, where you just have one big one and a few small ones along the top, is called speaker view. So if you want to change to gallery view, you'd click view and select the gallery view option. This is a nice way to get a bigger picture of the participants in your Zoom meeting instead of just having them in a small band along the top. You can see up to 25 people at the same time. If you have more than 25 people in your meeting, there will be little arrows along the side that you'll have to switch your panels of the videos that you can see, but you'll still see 25 videos at one time. Now we're going to look at the mute, unmute yourself button. The left side of your toolbar, again, it may be down at the bottom, it may be up at the top, but that's where it would be. It's going to be on the left side of your toolbar. You'll just click that microphone for mute or unmute. Now let's say you wanted to mute some participants. Most of the time, and I was really amazed with how quickly students learned how to mute and unmute themselves, for the fact that we didn't really have that much on-site time where we could help teach students how to do that. A lot of them figured out how to do it on their own, which was wonderful. And But sometimes you'll get somebody who either they don't realize they're muted, or realize that they're not muted and there's loud sounds going on. Maybe they don't know how to do that, or they don't realize how distracting it can be if you have that background noise of something going on for everybody else. So if you as the host would like to mute a participant, you'd go to that toolbar along the bottom to participants. And then you would select a participant's audio option. So let's say in this picture, I can see I'm the one that's talking. So you can see the yellow box around my video, but you'll also see a little yellow line under anybody else who's having any sort of loud audio. So sometimes it can be hard to figure out which person is the one that's having it in the background, especially if you have lots of participants. But on your participant list, you'll also notice that the microphone will be going up and down, indicating that that's where that person is either speaking or there's sound coming from them. So you will know that, okay, it's this person who has the loud sound in the background. So you'll select a participant's audio option, their mic, and it will say either mute if you want to mute yourself or mute them, or unmute if you'd like to unmute them. So for example, if you're trying to talk to somebody, maybe they're muted and they don't realize that you can't hear them, they're struggling to figure out how to unmute them, you can ask to unmute, or if you have muted somebody and want to unmute them, you can click ask to unmute. The only difficulty that I really wish Zoom would make this a little bit more user-friendly, and as a host, I wish I could just unmute somebody and they'd be unmuted, but that is not what happens. This is what it would look like from the participant standpoint, that if you ask to unmute them, they have to select unmute themselves in order to unmute them. So this did cause some issues originally when we would be in class, that I'd mute somebody, but then I'd want to unmute them later, and they wouldn't understand that they needed to click that unmute in order to be able to speak again. They'd be able to hear myself and other people who are talking, but we would not be able to hear them. So sometimes we would lose their audio for the rest of class and then just have to wait till the next class to be able to use that audio with them. And so if that ever happens, we would contact that person one-on-one to explain how to select unmute when they need to be unmuted.
And we have one little question here.
Sure.
Mary Ellen says, I received a Zoom invitation that was dated for the previous week, and I couldn't access the meeting. What happened?
That was most likely an invitation. So this is why we use the recurring meeting ID, is that link will work every single week. So if that person, what I think most likely happened is they sent out an invitation for an old meeting, and that was not the meeting that they had started. So they could go into that old meeting, even though it's not scheduled for the current day, and restart it. But they may have sent out an invitation for the wrong meeting and then opened up a separate meeting that has a separate meeting ID. So then when you went into it, there would be no host to let you in, and you would just be sitting there, and the host would be sitting in a separate meeting and waiting for you and wondering where you are because you'd be in two separate meetings. So that's why for most things, when possible, we really like to use that recurring meeting ID so everybody makes sure they're joining the same meeting. We had that same problem when we were having staff meetings. Somehow we got two meeting IDs for our staff meetings, and half the staff were in the old meeting ID and half the staff were in the new meeting ID. So the staff that were in the old meeting, we were sitting there going, where is everybody? Where's our host? Why isn't our host letting us in? Whereas our host is sitting in the new meeting with a different meeting ID, and they're waiting for everybody there thinking, where is all my staff? Where are they? Like, why aren't they here? So I think that's most likely why that happened, if that helps to answer your question. Okay, and the last function I wanted to talk about was adding a poll. So again, this is one of the things that is only available in a paid account. They do not have it available in the free account. So you would go to My Account, and then you'd go, so you'd sign into My Account, which would be up in the right-hand corner. You'd go to Meetings, and then you would click on the meeting that you would like to add a poll to. So the meeting needs to already be set up and scheduled. So you'd click on the meeting. Don't click on Start, Edit, or Delete. You'd click right here on the meeting name. Then you'd scroll down. It's going to give you all those meeting options we looked at about recurrence, name, date, time. You're going to scroll down to the bottom, and at the bottom, you'll notice below the Start Meeting or Edit this meeting, it will say you have not created any poll yet. So you'd say Add a poll. And then within that poll, you would name the poll. You type your question. You have lots of different, you can either have a single choice or multiple choice with lots of different answers, and you can add as many questions as you would like. And then I think they have a very large amount of question numbers that you could set that I think would be tough to hit. I want to say it was like 125 questions you can have within one poll. I forget, I'm not 100% sure, but I remember hearing that number about how many questions could be within one poll. And I just thought, wow, I'm not sure I would ever be able to hit that many questions within one meeting. So it is a very large number you can create of how many questions you'd like to add. Then you would, when you're finished with one question, you'd hit this add a question on the bottom to add more questions. And when you're completely finished, you'd hit save. And that's pretty much all I have for you today. The one last thing I've just realized I forgot to mention is when you're sharing your screen and you're drawing, actually you can enable it so your participants can draw along with you. I've been trying to teach some of our lower level students how to do this. It's still in the process, but for one of our teacher who works with a little bit of higher level students, they caught on to this really quickly, and it's a cool function that you can really make the meeting more interactive for your participants and less lecture based, that you can enable it so that they can draw along with you.
How do you do that, Caitlin?
You would have to go into your Zoom meeting settings. So back under, let's see if I can find the slide. When you click on My Account, you would need to go to, I'm trying to find, oh yeah. So here, if you're in My Account, there's Personal, Profile, Meetings, Webinars, Recordings, Settings. You would go to Settings, and then you have all the different meeting options settings, and that will be one of those customizable options. I don't remember offhand where it is located, but that's where you would find it.
Okay, and Caitlin, Barbara, who asked the question, let's see, can I repeat the same meeting at another time? I'm not quite sure what she's getting at there. And also Stacy wanted to know if you will be sharing your slides.
Yes, I will be sharing them. I think they are already in the chat box. Let me open up my chat and paste them in there again. And so here are the slides that you can use in the future. And I think to... Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And for, can I repeat this same meeting at another time? Yes, that would be setting up a recurring meeting. And really, once you set up that recurring meeting, it can start at any time you would like. So if you want to start it, let's say you have it scheduled for 8:30, your participants won't see when that meeting is started unless you send them a calendar invite. So let's say it's scheduled for 8:30, you want to switch the time, it's going to be 9:30 one day, you would just send that link and start it as you need.
Great. And then let's see, we do have a couple things here. Stacy says, just a shout out to Zoom offers free webinars related to training very frequently. You can pick the category of training you need and go from there. It's great. And Stephanie says, I'm not seeing Caitlin. Jennifer says, did you teach your students to use the chat or Q&A to ask question? And what's the difference between those two options?
That is a really good question. For the most part, I do not use the chat while I'm teaching. Everybody's unmuted. So if they have questions, they just, raise their hand or interrupt me or, teacher, I have a question, and we don't use the chat feature. I like to have my students talking a lot during class. So unless there's a loud noise going on in their background, everybody's unmuted.
Okay, great. And also Beth just did say she will include the link to the slides in her follow-up email. And so as a reminder, she will send out notes from this session and she will include that link in that follow-up email.
Okay, do we have any more questions? This was phenomenal.
Good. I do see a question in the question and answer
box. Cool.
So I think maybe the difference between there is I can directly respond to that question and they would see it in like a private chat box. I've seen that used before in webinars where a host can directly respond to your one question or for everyone to see. I see a question that says, sometimes a participant drops or times out. How do you get them back into the meeting? You would just send them that link, or if they have that link, they could just click that link and open up the meeting again. And if you have a waiting room, you'd need to admit them. There is a function. So in that participant list, for example, when you open up your participant list to mute and unmute people, I'm going to go back a few slides. So you see this more option. You click that, let's say you removed somebody from under more, you can remove a participant. You just want to make sure in your Zoom meeting settings that removed participants could rejoin. One time I was trying to fix something because we had trouble admitting a student and I removed them, but allowing people who have been removed to rejoin was not turned on my Zoom. And I unfortunately accidentally kicked that student out for the rest of the class, which I profusely apologized to them and was like, you will not have your attendance taken away from class. I know you were here. That was my fault. But yeah, if a student times out, they can just click that link and join back in.
Okay, and we have a question. Where can we find the information for Google text messages?
Yeah, Beth, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so you can go into your Gmail account, and so when you sign into your Google account or your Gmail account, there's a like your little box of options. So you can pick Gmail, Google Drive, things like that. You would choose Google Voice, and then you would set up your Google Voice account. You'll get a phone number from Google Voice, and I have a Google Voice app on my phone, and whenever I communicate with members, I just click that Google Voice app, and that's how I call my members or text, anything like that.
Great. And then what was the name of the program you mentioned that a person can use if internet is an issue? I think that was early on in the session.
Oh, I had just suggested they check out a webinar from Pro Literacy called Beyond Zoom that had in there, they had a lot of options talking that they specifically were addressing how to work with students or participants in your program if they other ideas for what to do if there's no internet connection or no cell service or no reliable cell service. Even if you have it, I know sometimes it can be really spotty. So for this webinar, when we're looking at Zoom, this does require an internet connection or cell service in order for participants to join. Otherwise, teachers have just been making work packets for their students to come and pick up and then drop off at our center.
Okay, great. And then Anna suggested that you can practice any of the features with your coworkers or even contact Wisconsin Literacy Regional staff if you would like to practice.
And that's a very good recommendation. I highly encourage you to practice. A lot of teachers, we'd get together and practice within a meeting in our center here.
And it looks like other than thanks again, the meeting had a lot of good information. I'll look into the virtual winter conference.
Yay! Good. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we hope to get a really tentative schedule out next week just to help folks start to plan, and then the full schedule will be available in January. But we do hope to send out a tentative agenda early next week.
Yes, so watch for that. And Caitlin, I cannot thank you enough. This has been absolutely fascinating. And I've picked up some stuff that I wasn't so sure about. So anxious to give it all a try. This 3-part series has been absolutely amazing. I owe you big time for all of this wonderful information that you shared. And I want to remind everybody who's with us today that all of this is going to be out on our website under the webinars. And today, at the end of today, you'll be getting information from Beth, and it will contain all of what was covered today and links and things that were included. So again, I can't thank you enough. This was absolutely wonderful.
Great. Well, I hope this is useful to other teachers. And thank you so much for everybody who came. And thank you, Wisconsin Literacy, for having me.
Well, thank you. And want to wish a happy holiday to everybody, because all of a sudden it's here. So hopefully you have an enjoyable time no matter how you spend it during this crazy holiday season. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.